Hey guys, what's up? It's JR Cuber, and you're watching my full comparison between the Gans 356 and the Moyu Tanglong. The Gans 356 and the Tanglong are very visually similar cubes with similar design structures. The Gans 356 was almost an experimental project, messing around with new designs and concepts. While it isn't the best performer, it's just sort of a cool cube to own in your collection. The Tanglong, on the other hand, felt like Moyu's challenge to the 356. Sort of like, hey, we can make a cube like this as well. And they succeeded in doing so. So how do these cubes stack up against one another? Before I start the comparison, I just want to mention the prices of these two cubes. The Gans 356 is a much more expensive cube at $23, whereas the Tanglong is more affordable at $16. So this comparison will be split up into 5 sections: turning, corner cutting, locking/popping, corner twisting, and overall performance. Each cube will receive a score out of 10 at the end of every round. If it's a tie, both cubes receive the same score. So let's get started. The turning of the Gans 356 is very soft and subtle. It's really easy to turn and just has a really light, buttery feel. The Tanglong, on the other hand, is a very stable, rigid cube. The Gans 356 is a very wobbly cube. It deforms easily and has trouble holding its shape. The Tanglong feels much better in the hand, just a better constructed cube. While the speed of the cubes are pretty much the same, the Tanglong feels more controllable due to its stability. So for turning, the Gans 356 gets a 7 out of 10, while the Tanglong gets a 9 out of 10. Corner cutting on both of these cubes, as you would expect, is amazing. Both of these cubes can easily cut over 45 with 3/4 reverse, although I will say that the Gans 356 handles all corner cutting better than the Tanglong. Smaller cuts, especially reverse, are incredibly smooth on the Gans 356. And that's not to say that the corner cutting on the Tanglong is bad, it's just that the Gans 356 maybe has the best corner cutting on any cube I've ever seen. So for corner cutting, the Gans 356 gets a 10 out of 10, while the Tanglong gets a 9 out of 10. Okay, so moving on to locking/popping, and just first thing, neither of these cubes pop, so now that that's out of the way, we can move on. The Gans 356 might first seem like the kind of cube that wouldn't have any sort of locking problem based on what I just said about its amazing corner cutting, but surprisingly enough, I still do get decent amounts of catching on this cube, and the spot where I get the most catching is between the corner and center. While the reverse corner cutting is really good, and small cuts are just the easiest thing ever, I still somehow manage to get catches there. And don't ask me how it happens, it just does. One thing that I did do to increase the performance and reduce the catching was to loosen the corner screws and pull out on the base of the corner until you hear it click. While this did help considerably, it wasn't quite enough to remove all of the catching I get with this cube. The Tanglong, however, has not had any considerable catching issues so far. It isn't perfect, and I do think that the corners could use a slight rounding, but it does help a lot with corner twisting, which I'll get to in a second. Anyway, for locking/popping, the Gans 356 gets a 7 out of 10, while the Tanglong gets an 8 out of 10. So corner twisting, the whole purpose behind why cubes started getting these squared off corners, and while I wish we could find another solution, this design does work really well. Neither of these cubes have corner twisted probably more than 2 or 3 times, so this round is a tie. Both cubes receive a 10 out of 10. Okay, so moving on to the last category, overall performance. The Gans 356 overall is an okay cube. People have had pretty mixed opinions about this cube. Some people really like it, and some just don't, but I personally think it's a decent performer, but it just isn't worth it for the price in my opinion. The Tanglong, on the other hand, is a solid cube that performs really well at a pretty average price point, and I think that this cube could definitely be a main for certain people. It's not my favorite cube in the world, but I do think that it does perform better than the Gans 356. So for overall performance, the Gans 356 gets an 8 out of 10, and the Tanglong gets a 9 out of 10. So we've gone through all the sections, so let's count up the points and see which cube is the winner. So for the maximum of 50 points each cube could receive, the Gans 356 got a 42 out of 50, and the Tanglong got a 45 out of 50. So the Moyu Tanglong is the winner here. So what's the conclusion here? Which cube should you buy? Well, if you want a cool new cube that has an interesting mechanism and you don't have much of a budget really, the Gans 356 is a very good addition to any collection. But if you want a solid performer for a bit less money, just go get the Tanglong. Anyway, that about wraps up my comparison between the Gans 356 and the Moyu Tanglong. If you would like to purchase either of these cubes, the links to both will be in the description. If you like this video, give it a like, and if you haven't already done so, like my Facebook page, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and of course subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.